Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Our mission, as always, is to take these huge, complex topics and really distill them into knowledge you can actually use.
And today we are tackling a big one, maybe the biggest. We're talking about building the skills for, lasting emotional intimacy.
That's right, because everyone wants that deep connection, right? To be able to share your inner world, to feel just completely seen and known by your partner.
But the how is always this giant mystery.
Exactly. So today we are stripping away some of the romance. And we're framing emotional intimacy as a practical skill. It's something you have to develop.
The thing you have to intentionally hone. It doesn't just happen.
So to start, let's get on the same page. What are we even talking about?
Okay, so emotional intimacy is that feeling of closeness, of connection. It's knowing deep down that another person really gets you. And the source material says it rests on 4 pillars.
4 pillars, okay.
Vulnerability, empathy, trust, and really finely attuned communication.
That list, that can feel a little heavy. Vulnerability is the one everyone talks about, right? You hear Brené Brown's name, and it's always the linchpin for connection.
It is the linchpin, but what's so fascinating is that it doesn't have to take years to build. We assume it's this slow, long process.
Yeah.
But the research actually shows it can happen, shockingly fast if you're intentional about it.
And this is where that famous study comes in, the one by Arthur and Elaine Aron. Mm-hmm. People usually call it the 36 questions to fall in love.
Exactly. They took total strangers and they guided them through these questions that got, deeper and more personal over time.
So it wasn't just small talk.
No, not at all. It was about moving straight into sharing their inner worlds.
And the result was just staggering.
Right.
In what, 45 minutes?
Just 45 minutes. And many of them reported feeling as close to the stranger as they did to people in their, their long-term relationships. Sometimes even closer.
Wow. So what that proves to you, the listener, is that this isn't just about how much time you spend together.
Right. It's about shared intentional interaction. The mechanism is actually pretty simple. The more you reveal about yourself and the more you genuinely listen, the closer you feel.
Intimacy is a choice.
It's a choice you make, often in a single conversation.
So with that in mind, we've structured this deep dive around 3 big areas. First, we'll get into the daily mindsets, the little rituals.
Then we'll cover the vocabulary of love, how to actually speak it.
And finally, we'll tackle the big one, mastering conflict.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with the absolute baseline. And honestly, this can be the hardest one. You have to genuinely care every single day.
The sources are really clear on this. Complacency is the silent killer in a relationship.
The moment you get absorbed in your own world and you stop actively checking in on theirs, you're losing that connection.
Yeah, you have to approach your partner with presence, with compassion. You have to remember they're still growing and changing.
Which brings us to the work of John Gottman. He studied what he called relationship masters versus relationship disasters.
And it was all about the daily habits of mind. The masters weren't just lucky, they were really intentional about appreciation.
They were actively scanning their environment for things to say thank you for.
Exactly, which builds this whole culture of respect. The disasters, on the other hand,
they were scanning for mistakes.
Yeah, just looking for what was wrong.
So if we want to be masters, we have to move beyond just a simple thank you. You call this advanced appreciation.
It's sort of level 2 appreciation. It's about articulating the why. It breaks down into 2 parts.
Okay.
So first, when they do something, a chore, a favor, you have to share the impact it had on you.
Give me an example of that, because I can see how that could sound a little manipulative if you don't do it right.
That's a great point. So level 1 is thanks for doing the dishes.
Right. Simple.
Level 2 is thank you for doing the dishes. It means I don't have that stress staring at me when I get home, and it makes my whole evening start, so much easier. You're sharing the emotional or physical benefit.
Okay, that makes it feel much more concrete. It's sincere. What's the second part?
The second part is sharing the positive quality it reveals about them. So instead of just thanking them for helping with the kids, you say something like, I really appreciate how much effort you put into the kids' activities. It shows me you're just such a proactive and amazing parent. You're affirming their identity.
That's a huge jump from just a transactional thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what about shared history? The sources say we need to reinforce old memories, not just make new ones.
Exactly. And the easiest way to do this is the remember when. game.
Fine.
And this isn't about dredging up old fights.
No.
It's about intentionally reliving your favorite moments. The funny ones, the absurd ones.
Like, remember when we tried to assemble that IKEA furniture and almost got a divorce over a missing screw?
Perfect. That's perfect, because when you savor those memories, you're reinforcing your shared story. You're reminding yourselves, we built this thing together.
Now, this next practice it's a heavy one, but maybe the most powerful. Contemplating the fragility of it all.
Yes, the Stoics called it memento mori, remember you will die. But we apply it here by contemplating your partner's absence.
That's a really heavy thought.
Yeah.
Why bring something so dark into a loving relationship?
Because it's the ultimate shortcut to gratitude. We get so caught up in petty annoyances, right? Minor grievances.
Sure.
Thinking about the profound hole their absence would leave in your life. It just jolts you out of that pettiness immediately. It reframes your time together as this precious, finite gift.
So if that's the wake-up call, then the highest goal has to be actually letting yourself be seen.
Absolutely. The final foundation is the courage of visibility. It means sharing your real, unedited self, your opinions, your fears, your dreams.
And the parts you think are unworthy or unlovable.
Especially those parts. And the sources warn, the more someone means to you, the scarier this feels.
Of course, because their opinion matters more.
But you can't be truly known if you aren't willing to be truly seen. Hiding yourself out of fear just prevents intimacy from ever taking root.
Okay, so once we have that foundation of appreciation and courage, we need the right vocabulary to actually express it.
Which brings us to a framework that's been pivotal for millions. Dr. Gary Chapman's 5 love languages.
Right. And this really solves that painful puzzle of the partner who's trying so hard, but it's just not landing.
Exactly. You could be doing all the chores in the world, but if that's not your partner's language, they still feel unloved. They feel the effort, but not the love.
The idea is that everyone has an emotional love tank, right? And it only fills up when love is spoken in their native language.
Yeah, and if I'm speaking acts of service, but you need words of affirmation, your tank is just running on empty no matter how much I'm doing.
Let's do a quick rundown of the 5. Let's focus on what feels like love and what feels like the opposite, what causes the hurt.
Good idea. So number 1, words of affirmation. This is valuing compliments, hearing I love you, and the reasons why.
And the flip side is that insults or unkind words can leave these deep, lasting scars.
Absolutely. Number 2, quality time. This is all about full, undivided attention, no phones at the dinner table.
So postponed dates or just being distracted feels like a profound rejection.
Number 3, receiving gifts. This is about the visual symbols of love. The thought is what counts.
Yeah, and a thoughtless gift or a missed birthday can hurt way more than the gift itself is worth.
Exactly. Number 4, acts of service. You feel loved when your partner eases your burdens. They see something needs doing and they just do it.
So laziness or broken promises, that just screams, I don't care enough to help.
Right. And finally, number 5, physical touch. This is about hugs, holding hands, sexual connection. It's about security.
And obviously, neglect or abuse here causes the deepest kind of emotional damage.
The power of this whole framework is that it forces you to become a student of your partner. You have to learn to speak a language that might feel totally foreign to you.
It's an active practice, learning to express love with a vacuum cleaner instead of a bouquet of flowers if that's what they need.
It is. Now, before we move on, there is a really critical point the sources make about physical touch.
Okay.
This is especially for couples who've been together a while. Affectionate touch hugs, holding hands is vital for emotional bonds. However, you have to be really careful not to initiate sex using purely affectionate touch.
Why is that a problem? I mean, isn't that a natural progression?
It can be, but it creates an expectation. And that expectation can poison the well of pure affection. If every time you give a long hug, it's seen as a prelude to sex.
I see. It becomes transactional.
It does.
Your partner starts wondering, is this a hug just to be close, or is there an agenda here?
Exactly. It makes the touch feel conditional. The goal is to keep affectionate touch purely affectionate, a moment of connection with no strings attached. That preserves the bond.
Okay, so when we talk about intimacy, it's easy to focus on the good stuff, the affection, but real intimacy is forged in conflict.
It is. And the biggest mistake people make is thinking that conflict is a bad thing.
It's just inevitable, isn't it?
It's inevitable. It's a natural part of two different people trying to build one life. And when you handle it well, it actually leads to growth and more closeness.
But handling it poorly is, well, a disaster. Which brings us back to Gottman's 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
Yeah, the 4 big communication mistakes that are just toxic to a relationship, we need to define them. Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling.
And the distinction between criticism and contempt is so important.
It is everything. Criticism attacks the behavior. You didn't do the dishes again. Contempt attacks the person. You're so lazy and thoughtless for not doing the dishes.
So one is, I hate this thing you did. And the other is, I hate this thing you are.
Precisely. And contempt, that's the eye rolling, the sarcasm, the name calling it, is the single greatest predictor of divorce.
Wow.
Because it communicates disgust. Once contempt is in the room, respect is gone.
That is a really powerful and uncomfortable truth. So if contempt is the ultimate poison, what are the antidotes? How do you have a productive argument?
You start with I statements. It's about taking responsibility for your own feelings. The structure is basically, I feel your feeling when this specific behavior happens, and I would like this specific change.
It sounds simple, but it's powerful because it's not blaming. It's hard for someone to argue with how you feel.
Correct. It lowers defensiveness right away. And once you're in that conversation, you have to stick to one issue.
Oh, that's a hard one.
It is. Arguments spiral so quickly into this fog of everything that's ever gone wrong. You can't solve your finances and your parenting philosophy in the same fight as the laundry pile.
Right. Solve one thing first. Now, the next one is a trap so many of us fall into, especially fixers. Listen to understand, not to fix.
Yes. Most of the time, when your partner brings you a problem, they're looking for connection. They want validation, not a 5-point action plan.
So your job is just to understand what it feels like to be them in that moment.
That's it.
Unless they specifically ask for advice.
That's it. And underpinning all of this, the real core of trust, is the commitment to assume good intentions.
That feels like a choice you have to make 100 times a day.
It is a choice. When they're late, when they miss a text, your brain just defaults to the negative story. They don't care about me. You have to consciously pause and ask, what am I assuming? And then look for a more generous interpretation. Maybe they're exhausted. Maybe they're stuck in traffic. That choice builds a huge reservoir of trust.
And finally, what about the fights that just never end? Gottman found that something like, 69% of conflicts are actually perpetual problems.
That's right. These are issues that will never, ever go away because they're rooted in fundamental differences. One person is a saver, the other is a spender. That's not going to change.
So if you can't solve it, what do?
You learn to manage it. You learn how to talk about it without it blowing up. You accept the difference and you work around it. Instead of trying to win an unwinnable argument, you manage the clash so it doesn't build resentment.
So when you put it all together, what does this all mean for you listening right now? I think we've shown that love really is a practical set of skills.
It is. It's a combination of daily practices, from rituals of appreciation to becoming fluent in your partner's love language to using these frameworks to navigate conflict.
Emotional intimacy is a verb. It's something you do, not something you have.
It's an active, intentional practice. It requires you to be a perpetual student of your partner, always learning, always adapting.
And as we close out, here's a final, maybe provocative thought that connects all of this to your own life. Your relationship does not exist in a vacuum.
The sources really stress this idea of getting off autopilot in your life generally. Ask yourself a tough question.
Okay.
Are you just trudging through a life that feels unfulfilling and then coming home expecting your partner to magically provide all the passion and connection that's missing everywhere else?
That's a heavy question. If you're on autopilot in your life, you're basically asking your relationship to carry the weight of all your unfulfilled needs.
Exactly. It's an impossible burden.
So the ultimate gift you can give your partnership is a fulfilled you. Focus on building a life that connects you, that satisfies you, so you show up as the fullest version of yourself.
Because then you have a richer world to share. Dive deep into these skills. Thanks for listening.